The Craft Legacy just dropped last week, so I figured why not go back and review the original, The Craft 1996. Hey YouTube, how's it going? Nick Cooling back here, and I run this channel, this multimedia channel of movie reviews like this. I also do franchise rankings, I do music reactions, and guitar covers. So make sure to check out all my other content too. So today we're going to be looking at The Craft from 1996. It's a teen witchcraft type movie, and it stars Robin Tunney, Fairuza Balk, Neve Campbell, and Rachel True, and it's directed by Andrew Fleming. Now, I have no nostalgia at all for this movie, never seen it before, just watched it for the first time last week, so this is all fresh with me. I've obviously heard of the film before and seen the cover a bunch of times, hear people talking about it all the time on Killer Flicks, on a horror group I'm in on Facebook. And I have to say, for a movie I never watched and came out in 96, it holds up pretty well. So the plot of this movie revolves around Sarah, the new girl at a Catholic private high school, and she starts hanging out with the three outcasts of the school, they're like these goth chicks that claim to be witches. And soon enough, when the four of them get together, they start conjuring up spells and curses against the people who wrong them. Now, right off the bat, I have to say that this movie is 90s as fuck. Like, it came out right before Scream the same year, 96, but it feels just like that type of movie, like The Faculty, H2O. All those movies have this same type of vibe with these teens in a high school environment. And this goes from the soundtrack all the way to the aesthetics of the film. It just has 90s written all over it. And it's not a bad thing, it's just a product of its time. So this is much more of a teen coming-of-age movie, like trying to find out how to fit in school and just discovering their adolescence more than a witchcraft movie, even though witchcraft and spells and stuff have a big part in the plot. The main focus is on the characters and the situations they're dealing with. But as the movie progresses, it becomes much more of a typical witchcraft movie when they start doing more spells and curses and their magic powers start growing. Now, the best thing this movie has going for it is the characters. Now, the plot can be fairly thin at times, not a crazy amount of stuff going on, but the characters are so great, and they're played by excellent actors too. You got the main girl, Sarah, who's the most level-headed out of the four, I would guess. And since she's a new girl in town, and the movie picks up pretty quickly, just dives kind of right into it. You don't really know her past, but you know it's mysterious. Like, her mother died and that. You don't really find out till later in the movie what happened. And she is the natural witch out of the four. The rest of them studied witchcraft and all this to learn it, but she's just natural at it. She can do it right away without even knowing she has the powers. The other three outcasts consist of Nancy, who is the leader and kind of the crazy one. We get Rochelle, and we get Bonnie, who is played by Neve Campbell. And like I said, they're all just great in their roles. This is what makes the movie, these characters, the way they were written and being played by excellent actors. Now, this is funny because Neve Campbell playing Bonnie, she is in this movie, and it's the same year as Scream, 1996, but this was a little bit before. But funny enough, the guy who plays Billy Loomis, Skeet Ulrich, is also in this movie. So you get two Scream original Scream actors in this movie that came out the same year, just a bit before. So there's no doubt that the actors' talent in this movie really elevated my score. And for the pacing of this movie, it kind of just jumps right in. But I find a lot of the 90s movies do that. They don't fuck around. They don't waste half an hour getting through backstory and trying to build up everything. They pretty much just start you right off and shit's happening right away. And I like that. The only problem is about the midway mark. It feels like it starts to slowly slow down and start to drag a tiny bit. Just because the movie just starts to become a little bit predictable by the end, because you kind of know what's going to happen. And it's an hour and 40 minutes. It's probably would have been better to cut at least like 10 minutes here and there, make it like an hour and 25 or 30 would have been perfect. But it's still not really a negative. It just slowly slows down on the second half. Now, as these characters start progressing through the film and getting more powerful and start using curses and spells on people who screwed them over, it's justified in this movie because it's not just out of nowhere. They're not putting curses on the whole school or anything. It's like one person, say, who bullied one of them, they will try to get revenge on them. It makes sense and it's justified. Or whether they're just really shitty parents, they all kind of get what they deserve, even though you know how these movies play out. Sometimes they go overboard with it. They're all performing evil acts, but they're not evil themselves, the characters. Now, like I said before, this movie may seem just like another 90s teen movie with a thin plot, but it really has morals, which is really neat, and underlying messages throughout, which keeps it from being just another generic witch film. It even states in the movie that it's almost like what comes around goes around. Say if you're putting a curse on someone, it's going to eventually come back on you 3 times worse. So it's like little themes like that, like what comes around goes around, like do unto others but only what you would want them to do to you. And it's just neat that they sprinkled in all these little life lessons. Now, while I wish they would have done a little bit more with the curses and spells because it's fairly downscale. There's only like maybe one person per each witch that gets cursed or put a spell on them. So I would have liked them expand on that, or at least make a follow-up sequel that was closer to in the 90s that would really connect these two films, because there's this new The Craft Legacy, which I haven't seen it. I'm going to check out and review, I mean. And maybe it does a good job at it. I don't know, but I doubt it. But this is still a very good fantasy horror movie. Definitely worth checking out. I would definitely recommend it. Even though it's a 96 movie, it's still fresh as ever today. It's got a great cast, decent effects, and it just lacks a little bit of a bigger plot. The plot's a little thin, but that's fine for this type of movie. It didn't need to be a Inception or anything like that. And the second half of the movie becomes a little bit bogged down and a little bit too predictable at times. But overall, I really enjoyed this movie, and I'm going to give it a rating of 7.5 out of 10. And I'd say definitely go give this a watch. It's very good. So that's it for today. That's my review on The Craft 1996, my first time watching it, and I'm glad I checked it out. My next review will be on The Craft Legacy, the 2020 movie that just dropped, and I don't know what to expect from that. It's a new Blumhouse movie, so they haven't been on a good streak lately, really since Halloween 2018. Maybe 1 or 2 films in between then and now, but really a bad track record lately. But I'm optimistic, and I'm not going to count my chickens before they hatch. So thanks for watching this review. Make sure to like, subscribe, and come back for more. And that's it for today. Thanks for watching.